Hello, this is Alan Crone, CEO of the Crone Law Firm, coming to you once again with an episode of Ask Alan. Ask Alan anything. And we had such a great response from the first one. I appreciate everybody who texted or emailed me or commented on social media about Ask Alan. As you know, if you've seen this before, is ask me anything. Ask me any question you want. I'm going to answer it. Now, it may not be the right answer, but it'll be my answer, and we're going to have some fun with it. We're going to do some legal questions, but we're also going to do some non-legal questions. So let's get right to it. First question is a very interesting question, comes from Marianne from Bartlett. What is my favorite reality TV show? Well, I don't watch a lot of reality TV, but the two that I watch predominantly, my family really are big fans of The Amazing Race and Survivor. And it's a tough call, and I like both of them for a lot of different reasons. But I think if you had to push me, my favorite one is The Amazing Race. And one of the reasons why is it's such a great life lesson. If you watch The Amazing Race, you'll see various teams, and they are separated from one another, and they're racing from one point to another, usually within a town, or maybe they're having to fly from India to England, or from India to Malaysia, and then trying to accomplish some goals or tasks once they get to the new place. And one thing that I think is really instructive about that show, and I think is a great life lesson for folks, whether you're kids or you're 50 years old or 100 years old, is never give up. These teams are separated, and they'll think that they're out of it, and because something happens to an opposing team or because of their own persistence, they're able to win or to at least not get eliminated on that leg. And just watching people's ability to overcome obstacles and to persist and not give up, I think is a wonderful thing. And so many of us are tempted every day to give up. These days particularly, everything seems so difficult, but if we just persist and we keep at it and every day move a little bit closer to our goal, pretty soon, before you know it, you're going to be at your goal. So that's the answer to that question, Marianne. The Amazing Race. It's a great show, and I really enjoy watching it, although Survivor is a close second to that. Second question is a little more of a legal question. That is, what is the difference between phase one and phase two of reopening here in Tennessee and Memphis, Shelby County? And in Memphis, Shelby County, the difference between phase one and phase two is pretty subtle. Most of the retail and restaurant capacities are about the same. One of the big differences is that what they call close contact businesses are now all able to reopen. Tattoo, spas, nail salons, in addition to barber and hair salons, which were already open at reduced capacity. Also, gyms are able to go from 25% capacity to 50% capacity. Some contact sports like basketball will be able to happen, and groups, whereas they were limited to 10 people, now it goes to 50 people or less. And so that's all a matter of expanding. Now, of course, social distancing is still a thing, and wearing masks and washing your hands and doing all of those things are still a thing. The other difference between phase one and phase two is that this phase two, going from phase two to phase three, will be a 21-day evaluation period minimum, not a 2-week evaluation period. So hopefully we'll continue to make progress, and we won't backtrack. We'll continue at the hospital capacity levels, which is below full capacity right now. And we're averaging, I don't know the exact numbers, but last report I saw, somewhere between 50 and 100 new cases a day. And so as long as we stay in that time frame, I think, or that experience level, then I think in 3 weeks we probably will go to phase three. And at some point we're going to top out, and we're still going to have to wear masks. We're still going to have to socially distance, not shake hands, wash our hands, all those kinds of things until there's until something else breaks. So hopefully that's phase 3 is 3 weeks away at the most, but we'll have to see what happens. The next question I have is what is the most important thing in any employment relationship? I think it's communication. Many of the cases that I see is bad communication when you get right down to it, whether it's a discrimination charge or retaliation, or it's just some business judgment. There's often a lack of communication, either from the company to the employee or from the employee to the company, a lack of communication of standards or expectations. There's some disconnect there somewhere. Sometimes there actually is actionable discrimination and retaliation, but often, for the vast majority of cases, people get fired because of a lack of communication. Either the company isn't communicating to them what their expectations are, not adequately communicating to the employee on how to be successful, how to correct their behavior in such a way that they can retain their job. And sometimes employees don't communicate very well when they're having problems or when they need help. So communication is key. So the last question comes from Jim from Collierville, and he asked me, what was the best decade in your lifetime? And he actually says, isn't the 90s the best decade? And I'm changing a little bit. What is the best decade in your lifetime? Well, Jim, I think the best decade was the 80s. By far and away, the best decade was the 80s. Ronald Reagan, Top Gun, fall of the Berlin Wall, great movies, great music. I graduated from high school and college during the 80s. I met my wife in the 80s. I got married in the 80s. That was just the best time, the 1980s. Love it. Now, I suspect if you're a little older, you think the 70s were the best. A little younger, you think the 90s were the best, or maybe, God forbid, you think that the 2000s were the best. But for me, I'm a child of the 1980s, and I love 80s on 8. I love watching movies from that decade. I can't get enough of the 80s. So that's the answer to that question. So that's all the questions we have for today. Look, I really encourage you. Email me at acrone8688. That's acrone8688 @gmail.com if you have a question, or if you're watching this on social media, comment and ask your question. Send me questions. I'd love to answer your question in this space. Be looking for more installments of Ask Alan and more surprises as we come to you bigger and better than ever. My next installment, I'm not going to be broadcasting from the Crone Law Firm. I'm going to be on location. And so if you have a guess as to where that location is going to be, make that guess in the comment section, and let's see if we can have some fun with that. In the meantime, I'm going to go out and try to get some justice for my clients. I appreciate you watching Ask Alan.